The excitement brought by the hunting war lasted for about a month in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy before it gradually subsided. The heavenly ranking also became stable, and the entire Northern Song Spiritual Academy returned to its previous calm. In this calm, some events surfaced and became the talk of the town. One of these was Shen Songxing and Li Xintong teaming up to take on the mission of hunting the Devil Dragon Child at the task hall. This news immediately caused a stir in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. The infamous reputation of the Devil Dragon Child was no joke. It was said that any disciple who ventured into the Northern Song continent and encountered the Devil Dragon Child was almost certainly killed in a brutal manner, their deaths often horrific. This made many disciples loathe the Devil Dragon Child, but despite his cruelty, his strength was exceptional. In the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, the only ones who could pose a threat to him were probably Shen Songxing and Li Xianong. In the past, Shen Songxing had gone alone, but always returned empty-handed. This time, however, he had teamed up with Li Xintong, clearly determined to eradicate this malignant presence from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. The alliance between the first and second on the heavenly ranking was a big deal, but unfortunately, the disciples couldn't follow them. They could only wait in the academy for the good news to arrive. They believed that with such an impressive lineup, Shen Songxing and Li Xintong wouldn't return empty-handed. However, such news would not come quickly, so when Shen Songxing and Li Xintong had been gone for about 10 days, the excitement gradually settled down. But soon after, something else broke the peace of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. It is well known that there are countless spiritual academies in this vast world. While the 5 great academies are the most renowned, that doesn't mean there aren't other powerful academies whose strength matches or even surpasses the 5 great academies. Some equally strong academies may not have the fame of the 5 great academies. So when people talk about spiritual academies, the 5 great academies are often the ones that come to mind first. This has undoubtedly provoked some powerful spiritual academies that are qualified to challenge the 5 great academies but are just a step behind in fame. They try every possible means to recruit talented individuals, hoping to boost their academy's reputation by relying on these gifted students. Of course, to achieve this boost in reputation, they must make use of the 5 great academies' fame. Thus, the so-called Academy Exchange was born. In simple terms, it means that at regular intervals, powerful academies would lead their teams to the 5 great academies, proposing a friendly exchange of skills. It seemed like a friendly gesture, but the underlying challenge was clear. Although the 5 great academies were well aware of this so-called exchange, they couldn't refuse. After all, the reasoning behind it was sound. As the 5 great academies, they had a reputation to uphold, so it would be unreasonable to reject such proposals. A little over a month after the hunting war, the Northern Song Spiritual Academy was visited for an academy exchange. This naturally caused another stir, breaking the academy's calm. Many excellent disciples were eager to show their skills at the exchange, hoping to demonstrate that the quality of the students at the Northern Song Spiritual Academy was not something that just any academy could match. As one of the 5 great academies, they naturally carried a certain pride. Though they might be ordinary within the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, they had all passed numerous trials to become a student of the academy, and they were proud of that. Thus, the Academy Exchange, eagerly awaited by many of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy's disciples, finally arrived. The academy visiting the Northern Song Spiritual Academy this year was the Taiding Spiritual Academy, located on the Taiding continent. While the Taiding continent was less famous than the Northern Song continent, underestimating an academy that could represent an entire continent would be a foolish mistake. During this time, all the disciples of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy were focused on this event, and their attention on it was even greater than during the hunting war. After all, no matter how the hunting war had turned out, the best people were always from their Northern Song Spiritual Academy. But if they failed at this exchange, it would tarnish the academy's reputation, and their faces would be wiped clean. So, at this time, the disciples of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy were surprisingly united. No matter what internal conflicts they had, they all agreed that the academy exchange had to be dealt with first. Otherwise, it would bring shame to them all. The location of the exchange meeting was set at Baiming Plaza, which shows that the Northern Song Spiritual Academy placed considerable importance on this event, as it was tied to the academy's reputation. When it comes to founding a spiritual academy, reputation is of utmost importance. This exchange meeting, if spoken in more polite terms, was really about showing off. If the academy failed to hold its ground and word got out, it would definitely have a significant impact on the reputation of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. As the event progressed, the students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy became more serious. They could feel that the students accompanying the Tai Ding Spiritual Academy had been carefully selected, and each one of them was no easy opponent. The exchange meeting lasted for a full 3 days. On the first day, both sides sent out their strongest participants, and the battle ended in a stalemate. Some of the top-ranked students from the heavenly ranking won, while others lost. Overall, the situation was still under control. This result made the Northern Song Spiritual Academy students realize they could no longer be dismissive. The Tai Ding Spiritual Academy had come well prepared, and with their top students, Shun Songxing and Li Xiantong, away on a mission to hunt the demon dragon child, there was no way they would return soon. As for Mu Chun, who had just taken the lead in the hunting war and risen to third on the heavenly ranking, he had been mysteriously missing for over a month, and no one knew where he had gone. With the 3 strongest fighters absent, if they were careless, it would be extremely difficult to win the exchange meeting. Thus, on the second day, the top 10 from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, including the Crane Demon, Su Xian, Su Huang, Zhao Qingshan, and others, all stepped forward to fight. With such a lineup, the Northern Song Spiritual Academy finally secured a great victory and suppressed the Tai Ding Spiritual Academy's momentum. However, this domination lasted only for a single day. On the third day, Tai Ding Spiritual Academy did not send out many students but instead sent only one. This one person started challenging from the 9th spot on the heavenly ranking. In just one day, he defeated Mu Fengyang, Su Huang, Zhao Qingshan, Su Xian, and other top students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. The entire Northern Song Spiritual Academy was in an uproar. This person had wiped out most of the top 10 students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. What was even more shocking was how ruthless this person was. All the defeated Northern Song Spiritual Academy students were heavily injured. His brutal methods sparked widespread anger among the Academy's students, yet they had no choice but to accept his overwhelming strength. They were left clinging to their last hope, the Crane Demon, who had yet to be defeated. But this hope was soon crushed. The Crane Demon fought valiantly against this person, using every tactic at his disposal, but in the end, a single mistake led to his regrettable defeat. From that point on, nearly all of the top 10 students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy had been eliminated. The students of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy were completely demoralized. No one had expected the exchange meeting to end like this. On the other hand, the Tai Ding Spiritual Academy's atmosphere was one of triumph. Some of their students began to look at the Northern Song Spiritual Academy with contempt and disdain, as if they now believed Tai Ding Spiritual Academy had surpassed Northern Song Spiritual Academy in strength and was poised to take its place among the 5 great academies. After this battle, the students of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy learned the identity of the person who had nearly wiped out their top 10. His name was Liu Zheng, a young man with outstanding talent. What was even more surprising was that he had once been chosen by the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. However, he had failed the final assessment and was eliminated, only to join Tai Ding Spiritual Academy. Now, this once rejected student had returned to the Northern Song Spiritual Academy and turned the situation on its head. The irony was not lost on the students, who felt the sting of their previous decision. No wonder this guy was so ruthless. It was clearly revenge for being dismissed by them. The students of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy were filled with anger. Though the assessment process wasn't entirely fair and depended on both strength and luck, Liu Zheng had exceptional talent. He just lacked the right luck. They couldn't really blame anyone for that. However, his actions now seemed overly vindictive. In their anger, they searched for any other top students who had yet to take the stage. But then they realized that with Shun Songxing, Li Xiantong, and Mu Chen all missing, there were no stronger students left in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy than the Crane Demon. This realization left them feeling dejected. Could this exchange meeting really end like this? However, hope always comes when least expected. Just as the students of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy were feeling discouraged, Xue Shi recommended someone, and soon everyone agreed with her. That person, of course, was none other than Luo Li, the only one from the top 10 of the heavenly ranking who hadn't made a move yet, aside from Mu Chen and his two companions. Beiming Plaza. The once empty plaza, left deserted due to the hunting war, had now become the focal point of countless eyes from Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, thanks to the arrival of the exchange meeting. This time, however, the attention seemed even more intense than during the hunting war. Because this was the moment when all the students of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy would unite against external threats. The Taiding Spiritual Academy had already oppressed them to the point of no return, and if they didn't stand up for themselves now, one of the 5 great academies might truly become a laughingstock, open to ridicule. This was something the proud students of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy could never tolerate. On the vast plaza, the sea of people was overwhelming, with over 90% being students from Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy. In the northwestern corner, however, there was a small group of people who seemed out of place. They were the students of Taiding Spiritual Academy. These students, all dressed in green robes, both male and female, mostly stood with their arms crossed, gazing coldly at the mighty Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students. What use was there in sheer numbers? They couldn't even defeat Senior Liu Zheng, and now, with the exchange meeting, Taiding Spiritual Academy would step on Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy's pride. If they could suppress Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy now, and then perform exceptionally well in the Academy Grand Competition 6 months later, perhaps Taiding Spiritual Academy would replace Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy as the leader. Senior Liu Zheng, just hold on for one more day, and Taiding Spiritual Academy will win. Then let's see what they have to say. These Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students are all talk. They say the strongest ones aren't here, but Senior Liu Zheng defeated all those so-called top 10 of the heavenly ranking yesterday. Were they not just a bunch of nobodies? Yes, even if the top 3 of the heavenly ranking show up today, Senior Liu Zheng can still send them scurrying back. Haha. The mocking laughter of the Taiding Spiritual Academy students echoed openly. This immediately attracted the angry glares of the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students. Since Liu Zheng's appearance, their arrogance had been through the roof, but due to their earlier defeats, they could only seethe in anger, their eyes practically shooting fire. In the front of the plaza stood a figure dressed in a blue robe, arms crossed, standing tall and straight. His indifferent gaze swept over the enraged students of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, but the corner of his mouth curled into a cold smile. So, this was the Spiritual Academy he had once dreamed of? It seemed that it wasn't as impressive as he had imagined. He would make the students of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy realize that without Liu Zheng, they had been blind. At the very front of the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students stood the top elite of their academy, He Yao, Su Xian, Su Huang, and other veteran top-tier students, along with rising stars like Zhao Qingshan. They were all gathered together, though their expressions weren't particularly pleasant. Su Xian, has Luo Li been notified? Will she come? Su Huang asked in a low voice, glancing at Su Xian. Now, among the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, aside from Shan Songxing and Li Xiantong, who had both left the academy, and Mu Chen, who had mysteriously disappeared for over a month, Luo Li was the only one who hadn't made a move yet. I've already informed her. Although Luo Li usually avoids fighting, this matter concerns the pride of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy. She should come, Su Xian replied with a slight nod. What good will it do if she comes? Liu Zheng's strength is probably at the early stage of the heaven-reaching stage. He's not weaker than Li Xiantong. Even if Luo Li shows up, or even if Mu Chen returns, I doubt they could win. After all, this isn't just a friendly sparring session, He Yao said, clearly holding a grudge against Mu Chen and knowing Luo Li's close connection with him. Although he knew the situation was not ideal, he couldn't help but speak up. Su Xian glanced at him faintly and said, if you think you can handle it, we can let you go instead. He Yao froze, gritting his teeth and turning his head away. Although he was very close to breaking through to the heaven-reaching stage, that final step always seemed impossible. Otherwise, How could he have been defeated by Liu Zheng? A heavy silence followed. Everyone felt frustrated. The timing of Tai Ding Spiritual Academy's move was perfect. As the two groups of students exchanged provocative and angry glares, on the elder platform of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, the senior members of both academies were also seated. Although the atmosphere wasn't as confrontational as the one between the students, it was clear that it wasn't exactly friendly either. Heh, Grand Song Academy headmaster, it seems we've picked a bad time for this exchange. Liu Zheng, that young man, has great talent, but he's too arrogant. Originally, I wanted him to see the top-tier students of Northern Song Spiritual Academy to temper his pride, said a plump man on the elder platform, his face full of smiles. Headmaster Fei, you jest? The exchange is simply a small spar, a chance for mutual learning and to identify our shortcomings. There's no need to speak of tempering anyone's pride, Grand Song Academy headmaster replied with a faint smile. The chubby man before them, who looked like a businessman, was none other than Headmaster Fei Qingsong of Tai Ding Spiritual Academy. Though his appearance was unremarkable, he was one of the top figures on Tai Ding continent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the head of an academy. Anyone who underestimated him based on his looks would likely be wiped out before they even realized what happened. Headmaster Tai, your demeanor is indeed admirable, Fei Qingsong said, still smiling broadly. He lightly tapped the table with his large palm. This exchange, I'm afraid, will be a victory without a fight for Tai Ding Spiritual Academy. Don't worry, Headmaster Tai. Once we return, I'll make sure to warn those kids to keep their mouths shut, haha. Grand Song Academy headmaster merely smiled faintly, neither warm nor cold. Meanwhile, the elders of Northern Song Spiritual Academy nearby furrowed their brows, and Hall Master Mou of Xing Palace, standing by the side, moved his lips slightly, his voice reaching Grand Song Academy headmaster's ears. Headmaster, I've already informed Lord Baiming, but there's been no response. I'm not sure if Mu Chun will show up. Grand Song Academy headmaster gave a barely noticeable nod. Headmaster Tai, does Northern Song Spiritual Academy have any other students who are planning to step up? If not, Fei Qingsong's face remained smiling, but his gaze narrowed as he tilted his head toward the northern sky. There, a streak of light sped toward them like a shooting star. Under the watchful eyes of countless gazes, it landed at Baiming Plaza. As the light dissipated, a slender, delicate figure of a young girl appeared. She wore dark, ink-like robes and silver hair, her exquisite face carrying a unique aura of independence, standing among the many gazes. The once noisy Baiming Plaza suddenly grew quiet. Whether students of Northern Song Spiritual Academy or Tai Ding Spiritual Academy, all of them couldn't help but show a trace of amazement in their eyes. She's here. Su Xian and the others immediately straightened up at the sight. What's this? Does Northern Song Spiritual Academy really have no standout students? After waiting so long, they only send out a woman? Liu Zheng, too, was slightly stunned by Luo Li's appearance, but he quickly sneered and spoke. Luo Li's clear eyes quietly gazed at Liu Zheng, but she didn't respond. Her jade-like hand slowly covered the Luo Shun sword. Top 10 of the heavenly ranking, Luo Li. Please, enlighten me. Luo Li's light, airy voice slowly spread across the plaza. Top 10 of the heavenly ranking? Even the crane demon, ranked 4th, was defeated by senior Liu Zheng. What can this number 10 do? The students of Tai Ding Spiritual Academy, now coming to their senses, immediately sneered and whispered among themselves. Could this be some sort of beauty trick? While the students of Tai Ding Spiritual Academy murmured, among them, one gaze was cast from the shadows. It finally landed on the graceful, stunning girl at the center of the plaza. That gaze seemed to carry a peculiar, playful smile. Luo Li, so you're really here. On the plaza, Liu Zheng coldly stared at the tall and graceful Luo Li and slowly spoke. I don't know how to hold back when I make my move. Don't think that because you're beautiful, I'll go easy on you. So, if you don't want to ruin your face, you'd better step down now. Luo Li's brows slightly furrowed as she softly replied again. Please, enlighten me. Liu Zheng's expression gradually turned cold. With a cold grunt, he suddenly stepped forward. A towering wave of spiritual energy shot up into the sky, and a powerful pressure enveloped the area. Early heaven-reaching stage. The students of Northern Song Spiritual Academy couldn't help but tighten their expressions. Xue Shi, the crane demon, and the others were all watching intently. They hadn't really seen Luo Li in action before, but the fact that she and Mu Chun had teamed up to take down a spirit king meant her true strength was likely much greater than what she had shown. Of course, they couldn't be entirely sure. Only when she truly made a move would they know just how strong she really was. I hope she's been hiding her strength, Xue Shi thought with a light sigh. Liu Zheng had been extremely ruthless. If he ended up injuring Luo Li, and Mu Chun showed up afterward, who could guess how furious he might be? All she could do now was hope that Luo Li's strength would give them all a surprise. Liu Zheng stood proudly, his overwhelming spiritual power sweeping through the arena. He locked eyes with Luo Li, a chilling look flashing in his gaze. Once he defeated this last opponent, there would be nothing more for the Northern Song Spiritual Academy to say, right? The Northern Song Spiritual Academy is nothing special, Liu Zheng sneered, his lips curling into a mocking smile. Since I didn't encounter your so-called top 3 of the heavenly ranking, I'll take them down one by one at the Academy Grand Competition 6 months from now. Luo Li's clear eyes flashed with a cold glint. She stared at Liu Zheng, her jade hand slowly gripping the Luo Shun sword. In that instant, everyone felt a mighty spiritual power, like a storm, sweeping out from her body. The intensity of that spiritual power was on par with the heaven-reaching stage. Countless students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy widened their eyes in shock. Who could have expected that Luo Li, ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking, possessed such incredible strength? Besides Shan Songxing and Li Xintong, she hid her power even better than Mu Chun. But Luo Li seemed completely unfazed by the astonished gazes. She simply focused on Liu Zheng, whose expression had also shifted. Her cold voice rang out, accompanied by the clear sound of her sword's hum, echoing through the sky. To deal with you, I only need one sword. A massive wave of sword energy shot into the sky. Buzz. The overwhelming sword energy, along with the crisp sound of the sword's hum, surged toward the heavens. The sharp sword chi rippled through the air, darkening the sky itself. The noise that had filled the plaza earlier came to a sudden halt. Whether from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy or the Taiding Spiritual Academy, all the students' faces grew serious. No one had expected that this girl, whose appearance and aura seemed so graceful, could unleash such an astonishing force. With such power, how could she possibly only be ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking? She was more than capable of claiming a spot in the top 3. Xue Shi and the crane demon were also taken aback, their expressions filled with astonishment. The crane demon, especially, looked even more impressed. Among all the students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, only 2 had reached the heaven-reaching stage, Shan Songxing and Li Xintong. Even Mu Chun, despite his vast array of skills and immense combat strength, was still far from truly achieving the heaven-reaching stage. The crane demon had originally thought he would be the 3rd to break into the heaven-reaching stage, but who could have predicted that Luo Li, who rarely fought and seldom showed her true power, had been hiding such terrifying strength? This couple is unbelievable. They're hiding their power like this. Don't they fear feeling suffocated? Some people silently gritted their teeth, clearly feeling the blow to their pride. But aside from those feeling frustrated, the majority of students from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy soon displayed signs of excitement in their eyes. With Luo Li's strength this formidable, how could Liu Zheng continue to act so arrogantly? Humph, one sword? You really are overconfident. Under the gazes of countless onlookers, Liu Zheng's initial shock faded as he sneered coldly. Luo Li's strength had indeed far exceeded his expectations, but as someone at the early heaven-reaching stage, her thinking that she could defeat him with one sword was nothing but a huge joke. Yet, Luo Li seemed to have heard nothing. She gripped the Luo Shan's sword with her delicate hand, her fingers brushing the sword sheath. In the next moment, a cold light burst forth, and the Luo Shan sword was drawn from its sheath. The entire world seemed to grow colder. A vast surge of sword energy spread out. A massive, 100 zhonglong beam of sword light shot into the sky, with the overwhelming sword chi rapidly converging at an astonishing speed. In an instant, a river of sword light, hundreds of zhang in length, was formed. A terrifying sword aura emanated from the sword light. Looking at this sword energy river, even Liu Zheng's face shifted slightly. Luo Li moved gracefully, her jade-like hand trembling slightly. The long sword in her grasp was gently thrust forward. Buzz! The sword hummed, as though it was singing in the air. A river of sword energy surged through the sky, turning into a dazzling beam of light, carrying an indescribable sharpness as it swept toward Liu Zheng. One sword transforms into Luo River. Boom! 1,000 sword energies surged forward, and before the sword energy could even touch the ground, the earth below was already riddled with countless cracks. At this moment, Luo Li displayed all of her strength, and the move she executed was even more powerful than the one she used in the hunting ground. Liu Zheng looked up, the sword energy river reflected in his pupils. His expression grew serious. This sword was indeed astounding. However, for Liu Zheng to admit defeat was not going to be so easy. Cold light surged in Liu Zheng's eyes. He clenched his hand, and a crimson long spear suddenly materialized. With the spear in his grasp, violent spiritual energy waves erupted like fire, sweeping through the air. Flame God War Spear. His spiritual power erupted without reservation, and red spiritual energy shot into the sky. He thrust the spear forward, and the air in the surrounding area seemed to explode as the spear pierced through. Boom! Everyone saw an overwhelming wave of fire bursting from Liu Zheng's body. A beam of red light swept across the sky like the wrath of a flame god, carrying an inferno that collided fiercely with the sword river. Bang! The moment they collided, the sword energy and red light exploded. As the sword energy rampaged, the ground was instantly torn apart, huge cracks rapidly spreading out. The red light exploded at that moment. The sword energy swept through, forcefully shredding the fiery red spiritual energy into pieces. A trace of horror flashed in Liu Zheng's eyes. The sharpness of the sword energy far exceeded what he had expected. He shook his arm, retreating rapidly, not daring to meet the sword's edge head-on. Swish! However, just as he retreated, his momentum weakened, and a graceful figure streaked across the air like a startled swan. The sword energy seemed to follow her movements, surging forward. The sword light, as fast as lightning, tore through the space, and in Liu Zheng's horrified gaze, it rapidly pierced toward him. The speed was so fast that he could only watch as the sword tip rapidly enlarged in his pupils, powerless to dodge. The sword light swept toward him, and the blade, rippling like water, slashed across Liu Zheng's chest. The sword energy exploded. Bang! Liu Zheng was sent flying, crashing awkwardly outside the arena. Blood poured from his mouth, his face pale, his eyes filled with shock and the look of someone who had narrowly escaped death. Earlier, he had felt the scent of death. If Luo Li had wanted to kill him, there would have been no way for him to survive. The outcome came too quickly. The swift sword strike was noticed by only a few, but when Liu Zheng fell in such a miserable state, everyone knew the result. A thunderous cheer erupted from the direction of the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students. Xue Shi, Crane Demon, and the others were all surprised. Their eyes were filled with amazement as they looked at the graceful figure in the arena. Who would have thought that this quiet girl who had always followed Mu Chun would hide such strength? They had all underestimated her. What she possessed was not just her stunning beauty and grace, but her strength, which was equally breathtaking. She's truly impressive, Su Huang sighed, his gaze complicated. This year's new students were indeed extraordinary. Not only did they have Mu Chun, but who would have thought that this quiet girl was also so terrifying? It seemed that she had deliberately hidden her sharpness while staying by Mu Chen's side, becoming more reserved. However, just like her extraordinary sword, there would come a day when she would reveal her true power. Just like today. As the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy students cheered, the students from Tai Ding Spiritual Academy wore expressions of uncertainty. Earlier, they had been full of excitement, but now, in just a short while, the situation had completely changed. Liu Zheng, at the heaven-reaching stage, had been defeated so quickly. On the elder platform, the headmaster of Taiding Spiritual Academy, Fei Qingsong, wore a faint smile that quickly faltered. He then said, as expected of one of the 5 great academies, I didn't expect that besides the top 10 of the heavenly ranking who haven't shown themselves, there would be such a powerful person. The headmaster of Tai Tsong Academy smiled lightly and looked at the girl in the arena. Fei Academy head, you flatter her. Luo Li doesn't like to fight. If it weren't for the circumstances today, she probably wouldn't have made a move. Fei Qingsong also smiled, narrowing his eyes. Her name is Luo Li? Heh, that sword she used earlier. It reminded me of the Luo God sword art from the Luo God clan. Could it be that she's from the Luo God clan? The headmaster of Taitsong Academy didn't confirm or deny, only saying, since Liu Zheng has lost, the exchange meeting should be over. Both sides have had victories. Taiding Spiritual Academy indeed has formidable strength. Heh, not so fast, Fei Qingsong said with a smile, his eyes glinting. Headmaster Taitsong, our Taiding Spiritual Academy still has people who haven't fought yet. I never said that Liu Zheng was our strongest student. Hearing this, the headmaster of Taitsong couldn't help but frown slightly. So, Taiding Spiritual Academy really came prepared. On the plaza, Luo Li's sword energy gradually retracted as she quietly looked at Liu Zheng, who was struggling outside the ring. Your spiritual energy is unstable, she said calmly. It seems someone has forcibly enhanced your power. With your current ability, you're not even qualified to challenge the top 3 of our Northern Song Spiritual Academy's heavenly ranking. Liu Zheng's expression darkened. He wanted to shout in anger, but the sharpness of that sword strike from earlier still lingered in his mind. For a moment, he found himself unable to speak, his body trembling slightly, completely losing the imposing manner he had before. The students of Taiding Spiritual Academy gritted their teeth, but none dared speak. If even Liu Zheng had been defeated, it was clear they had no chance of defeating Luo Li. Luo Li glanced at the defeated students of Taiding Spiritual Academy, her jade hand gripping her sword as she turned to leave. Though she didn't enjoy fighting within Northern Song Spiritual Academy, she was still a student here and couldn't just stand by while Taiding Spiritual Academy insulted her school. Now that her goal had been achieved, she didn't want to stay any longer. Liu Zheng watched Luo Li walk away, his hand clenched into a fist before slowly relaxing. His eyes were full of dejection. He knew he was no match for her. Heh. However, just as Luo Li took a couple of steps, a soft laugh echoed from among the Taiding Spiritual Academy students. Luo Li paused in her steps. The students of Taiding Spiritual Academy shuddered at the laugh, their expressions changing. Countless gazes turned toward the source of the laughter. At the back of the Taiding Spiritual Academy group, a figure slowly rose. The figure walked straight through the crowd and stopped in front of Liu Zheng, speaking in a cold tone, useless. Liu Zheng's body trembled slightly, but he could only lower his head in unwillingness. The figure stepped over Liu Zheng and slowly ascended the platform. As he raised his head, his strikingly handsome face was revealed. On that face, a pair of blood-red eyes stood out, drawing all attention. Heh, Luo Li, the next heir of the Luo God clan, didn't expect you to really be here. Luo Li turned around, and when she met the man's blood-red eyes, an overwhelming chill instantly filled her clear gaze. Her jade hand tightened around her sword, and a cold voice, filled with icy intent, came from her crimson lips. Blood God clan. When those 3 words left Luo Li's lips, her beautiful face turned as cold as ice. In her eyes, a murderous intent began to surge, an emotion rarely seen in her. The handsome young man smiled faintly. Dressed in a glaring crimson outfit, he emitted a faint smell of blood, and his blood-red eyes looked especially eerie. It seems the information we received was accurate. As the next heir of the Luo God clan, instead of staying under the protection of Luo Heavenly God to receive your inheritance, you ran all the way to this Northern Song Spiritual Academy. The young man continued with a smile. Are you running away? Luo Li's grip on the Luo Shan's sword tightened as her expression remained frosty. I almost forgot to introduce myself. I am Xue Shi, a member of the Blood God clan's royal family. The handsome young man gave a slight bow, polite but with a bloodthirsty aura that couldn't be concealed, making others wary. The Blood God clan, like the Luo God clan, was one of the 4 divine clans from the Western Heaven realm. This person in front of her came from the same place as Luo Li. Xue Shi? I've never heard of a figure like you among the Blood God clan's royal family. I assume your status within the clan isn't very high, Luo Li said indifferently, gazing at the handsome young man. A cold glint passed through the young man's blood-red eyes as his smile grew even wider. If I manage to capture you, my status will certainly change. With just you? Luo Li tightened her grip on the sword, speaking slowly. Heh, being chosen by Luo Heavenly God as the next Luo Emperor, I naturally don't dare to underestimate you, Xue Shi chuckled, licking his lips. His blood-red eyes locked onto Luo Li as a dense blood aura surged from his palms, releasing a bloodthirsty energy. But you're still too young. You haven't even undergone a single inheritance yet? Xue Shi's lips curled into a smile as he continued. As for me, I've already received 1 inheritance. So, be careful. Don't let me kill you, or else, your Luo God clan will truly be doomed. You needn't worry about that. Xue Shi smiled, but there was no trace of warmth in his eyes. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and a vast surge of blood-red spiritual energy erupted from him. The once bright world was instantly stained crimson. A thick, pungent smell of blood spread through the air. The overwhelming fluctuation of spiritual energy was even stronger than Liu Zheng's. The intensity of the energy was so immense that it was almost at the mid-stage of the heaven-reaching stage. This guy was stronger than Liu Zheng. The many students of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy were taken aback, their faces changing drastically. Shock filled their eyes as no one had expected that someone stronger than Liu Zheng would appear here. In the Taiding Spiritual Academy, Su Xian and the others wore serious expressions as well. It was clear that Taiding Spiritual Academy was determined to trample on Northern Song Spiritual Academy during this exchange event. When did people from the Blood God clan join Taiding Spiritual Academy? On the elder platform, Gransong, the headmaster of Taiding Spiritual Academy, stared at Xue Shi and spoke indifferently. Heh, isn't the Northern Song Spiritual Academy the same? Taiding Spiritual Academy has gained some renown now, and even powerful clans are willing to send their people here to train, Fei Qingsong replied with a smile. Gransong did not comment. Taiding Spiritual Academy had indeed done anything to raise its fame in recent years. Xing Palace Hall Master Imoyu frowned. Taiding Spiritual Academy really seemed ungrateful. However, as the host, there wasn't much he could say. He hoped Luo Li could stabilize the situation, although the Blood God clan member appeared formidable. On the stage, Luo Li's gaze narrowed. Xue Shi's strength, with just a little more refinement, would allow him to break through to the mid-stage of the heaven-reaching stage. His spiritual power was far stronger than Liu Zheng's. Though both Xue Shi and Liu Zheng were at the early stage of the heaven-reaching stage, Luo Li knew Liu Zheng was definitely no match for Xue Shi, especially considering that Xue Shi was from the royal bloodline of the Blood God clan. Xue Shi's methods were not something Liu Zheng could rival. Luo Li, let me see just how strong the next emperor of the Luo God clan is. Xue Shi's blood-red eyes locked onto Luo Li, his lips curling into a bloodthirsty smile. Luo Li's face turned cold, and once again, a torrent of sword energy surged into the sky. Whoosh whoosh. The sword energy filled the air, and a sword river began to form again. It was clear that Luo Li had no intention of holding back. She struck with the killing blow right from the start. You think you can defeat me with one sword? Haha. Let's see who is knocked out with a single move. Xue Shi grinned fiercely, his blood-red pupils flashing with a cold light. In the next instant, he stamped his foot, shooting forward at an incredible speed. A sea of blood energy surging wildly like a massive tidal wave, crashing toward Luo Li. Luo Li's jade-like hand trembled, and her graceful figure leaped forward. The sword river howled as it descended, seemingly merging with her, the sword light roaring with a sharp killing intent that tore through the sky. The sword strike was clearly more lethal than before. Everyone watched in wide-eyed astonishment. Neither side intended to warm up, They were going straight for the kill with their most powerful moves. Blood Sea Sword. The Blood Sea and Sword River collided in an instant, and when the two violent and unmatched forces clashed, Xue Shi's cold voice rang out from within the Blood Sea. His hand clenched, and a long sword, seemingly forged from fresh blood, materialized in his grasp. He thrust it forward, sending forth a torrent of blood energy. Clang! The two long swords crashed together in the midst of the Blood Sea and Sword River. The ground beneath their feet cracked open as if even the air had been distorted. The two swords trembled violently, their tips locked in a fierce struggle. One was filled with immense spiritual power, the other with a savage bloodlust. The two equally destructive sword energies collided, and the ground beneath them split open, leaving deep cracks. Xue Shi's arm shook violently, his blood-red eyes flashing with light as a sinister smile curled at his lips. The Blood Sea behind him suddenly surged, transforming into a vast blood curtain. Within it, a torrent of blood, like a wave of soldiers, surged forward, sweeping over massive cities, their towering flags flashing with golden, dazzling characters. Luo. The blood wave surged across the cities, destroying them in an instant. Luo Li, take a look. Your Luo God clan's territory is being constantly eaten away. Those who once revered you, your people, are now being bloodily massacred. Xue Shi let out a sinister laugh, the sound of which was like a demonic chant, sweeping towards Luo Li. Luo Li gazed at the scenes unfolding within the blood-red light screen. Her heart shuddered, a sorrowful emotion surging within her, slowly crumbling her sword energy. The moment her sword energy was shattered, Luo Li sensed it immediately. She realized that her mind was being disturbed, a tactic that the Blood God clan excelled at. But it was already too late. Heh, you're still too naive. Xue Shi laughed coldly. The instant Luo Li's sword energy weakened, the blood-red sword in his hand erupted with a monstrous bloody aura. The sword light howled, directly piercing through Luo Li's defenses and striking her delicate body with a burst of bloodlight. Boom! Luo Li's slender form was sent flying. However, as she flew out, she raised her jade hand, and a sword beam, as fast as lightning, pierced through Xue Shi's shoulder. The sword energy rampaged, and both figures were sent flying. Luo Li's body crashed outside the arena. With a cold expression on her face, she landed gracefully. Blood dripped from her long fingers, falling drop by drop to the ground. Meanwhile, Xue Shi steadied himself on the stage, a sword wound also marking his shoulder, blood staining it. Yet, he paid no mind. The blood surged and was quickly absorbed back into his body, the wound healing almost instantly. Heh, the Luo Emperor is truly soft-hearted. Just this scene, and it can shake your mind? What will happen when you lead the Luo God clan? Xue Shi's handsome face broke into a mocking smile as he glanced at Luo Li, who had been knocked off the stage. To become a clan leader, you can't afford to be so compassionate. Luo Li's face turned icy. Her jade hand gripped her long sword tightly. If Xue Shi hadn't used such underhanded tactics to disturb her mind, there was no way he could have forced her off the stage. Despicable! A furious shout rose from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy students. Xue Shi's methods were utterly vile, resorting to such lowly tricks. However, Xue Shi paid no attention to their condemnation. He only sneered and said, "The outcome of this fight is already decided. If any of you from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy are still dissatisfied, feel free to step up. As for whether I have any other methods, you'll soon find out." The students of Northern Song Spiritual Academy were seething with anger, feeling even more disgusted with Xue Shi than they had with Liu Zheng. But despite their rage, most of the Academy's top students had already stepped forward. Even the previously brilliant Luo Li had been forced off the stage, and according to the rules, she had lost her qualification to continue fighting. So, despite their anger, no one from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy could step forward. All of them were visibly frustrated. If only one of the top 3 from the heavenly ranking had been here, they wouldn't have allowed these guys to act so arrogantly. I know the so-called top 3 from your Northern Song Spiritual Academy aren't around. Since that's the case, I'll give you an opportunity. We'll stay here for 3 days. In these 3 days, Try to gather everyone you can, Xue Shi said, a mocking curve lifting the corner of his mouth. Of course, as long as they dare to show up. With those words, he turned to leave. However, just as Xue Shi was about to turn away, a faint smile appeared on the face of the Grand Tsang Academy headmaster, who sat on the elder platform. Fei Qingsong beside him seemed to sense something and furrowed his brows. Buzz. Above Biming Plaza, the space suddenly warped. Within the distorted space, the sound of thunder echoed. The sudden commotion immediately drew everyone's attention, and many looked on in astonishment. Xue Shi paused, narrowing his blood-red eyes as he looked up at the warping space. There, amid flashing lightning, a tall figure slowly emerged. As the figure appeared, the sky seemed to reverberate with thunder. A familiar spiritual energy fluctuation spread through the area. Sensing this fluctuation, countless students from the Northern Tsang Spiritual Academy leaped to their feet, their faces filled with uncontrollable joy. This energy, it's Mu Chan,